I'm on page 8 of your textbook, and you see an example of a page of scriptures. Here again, up at the top, you have Genesis, the book of Genesis. Then you have the bold, large number, that's the chapter, and then you have the smaller numbers, and that's the verses. So that's the way you look up scripture. This is Genesis, chapter 15, verse 18. I know it's difficult to see. We're going to visit this again. I just wanted to show it to you in your book. And here are all of the books of the Old and New Testament. No, you don't have to memorize them, so don't start panicking. Oh, here's the New Testament. Here's the Old Testament. And then it goes on, and I would like you to read this, and it tells you, especially the first 5 books, the Pentateuch, that I will want you to learn. The Pentateuch is Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. It's easy because they rhyme. Okay, let's go back to our smartboard. Let's look at some notes. Note number 1. First, you look up the book. So if I said, I want you to find scripture in Leviticus chapter 12, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to look up Leviticus. Then you're going to find the chapter. Remember, that's the large number. Next thing, you're going to search for the verses, the small numbers. Then you are going to use the USCCB website, just as I talked about in the prior video, and I'm going to show that link in just 1 second. And finally, check your footnotes. I'm going to go now to the usccb.org website. Here's my link. And see, it takes me right to Books of the Bible. So as I go down here, I find all the books. Here's all the books of the Old Testament, all the books of the New Testament. Also, it has down here as well. So if I am going to go to, let's go to Genesis, because we're going to be talking about Genesis in chapter 1. So I'm going to go to Genesis. Here's Genesis, chapter 1. And see, there's Genesis chapter 1. And we'll be talking about the story of creation in chapter 1 of our textbook. In the beginning, here's my verse. Now, see these over here? These are very important because when you go down to the bottom of the page, and we're going to be doing this a lot, here again is our verses and our chapters. And this gives us more information. It helps us to understand what we've read. So it's very, very important to always use your footnotes. It tells you a lot more information. Right here it talks about the dome. The Hebrew word suggests a gigantic metal dome. So this helps you to understand. And here, like I was saying, the Latin Vulgate translation of firmament is very interesting. So this is very important to always use your footnotes. And here again, we have the same page that you have in your textbook. So the first thing you're going to do, the first thing is to look for the book. In this case, we're looking at Genesis. The next thing is the chapter. It tells us what major chapter we are looking for, and it is followed by a colon. Then we're going to look for the verse. After the chapter comes a verse or verses, and they follow the colon. And finally, the footnotes, which are always at the bottom of the page, and it is very important to check your footnotes because they help understanding. Now, let's go to, we're going to do these in class together. You're going to fill it out, but let's do one together. We're going to go to Matthew. Now, Matthew is the gospel, so is it going to be found in the Old Testament or the New Testament? Let's look. I'm going back to my link. Let's scroll down. Here's my link. And I'm looking for Matthew. Matthew is the gospel and it's in the New Testament because it tells us the story of Jesus. So Matthew, now I'm going to go back because I don't remember what I'm looking for, and let's see. Matthew chapter 18. Okay, no problem. Let me go back to Matthew chapter 18. So here's Matthew. I'm going to click on chapter 18. See? Chapter 18. Then I need verse 20. So let's go back, and I'm going to go down. Here's verse 1, 2, 3, all the way down to verse 20. For where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, there I am in the midst of them. Now let's see if we have any footnotes. I see an M, so I'm going to look down here at the bottom to my footnotes. And I was on verse 20. So let's see. Verse 20. I'm going to keep going down. Aha, look at this. Whether this prayer has anything to do with the preceding judgment is uncertain. Also in here it's going to talk about it. And let me go down. Let me see if there's any more. Aha, 19 through 20. So here's more information, and here's exactly what I'm looking for. The presence of Jesus guarantees the efficacy of the prayer. That means the strength of the prayer, that if Jesus is there, then the prayer is to Jesus, and it is a prayer that Jesus is listening to. This saying is similar to the one attributed to a rabbi in AD 135 during the Second Jewish Revolt. When 2 sit, and there are between them the words of the Torah, the divine presence rests upon them. And in this case, the divine presence in the Torah would be God. So you see, it really helps you to use the footnotes. So now you know exactly how to look things up in the Bible. Good job.